All right, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the one and only Wrestling Otaku channel, your personification of excellence on YouTube and YWC, and we're the best reviews wrestling. I'm back here. It is now officially, well, technically it's Sunday now because it's past midnight. Sunday, October 13th of 2024. So we just got through watching another badass AEW pay-per-view, that being AEW's Wrestledream 2024 pay-per-view emanating from Tacoma, Washington. Just got through watching it a few short minutes ago, actually about 5-6 minutes ago, and I must say AEW once again delivered on another quality show, another quality pay-per-view classic here. Not necessarily in terms of like overall quality, in terms of overall appeal, it wasn't necessarily on the level of AEW's previous pay-per-views from earlier this year, like Revolution or All In or even All Out, but I do think it was still a top-notch, high level, high quality pay-per-view. I still think it was a high quality show with more good matches than anything else. And so I really appreciate, you can really appreciate how AEW, even with their lesser shows, even with their lesser pay-per-views with not so much of a stack, when the card isn't as stacked maybe as it could be, even then, even on the lesser pay-per-views, they still deliver when it comes to their pay-per-views. And you really got to give credit to Tony Khan and AEW because they delivered once again on a good show here with Wrestledream. So I'm going to go ahead and give you guys here my Wrestledream reaction / review, recap, whatever you want to call it. I think it'll be like a recap, giving my thoughts on everything that happened on the show because I did watch the pay-per-view in its entirety. I got the chance to because I had the day off work today. And actually I had the day off tomorrow, so thank God. But anyway, so I want to go ahead and recap here. And so, like I said before, the bulk of the strength of the show was a handful, the handful of matches that were, heavily anticipated, advertised, whatever have you, and I'll get into that when I get to it. And there were a good portion of the matches that were kind of decent, not anything like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. They had some decent matches. They had some really good matches. Kind of a, little mix of whatever have you. Kind of a mixed bag when it comes to matches. That's why I say it's one of the lesser pay-per-views in terms of quality. It's not quite on the level of previous pay-per-views from this year, but I still think all in all, just based on the overall, just how the show was structured and everything that happened, I think it was a quality show. So anyway, so let me go ahead and get through the show here. I'll start with the 0 hour. We started off with Brian Cage defeating Atlantis Jr. I didn't get the chance to see all that match. I came in like halfway through. It was decent for what it was. So Brian Cage is the new Ring of Honor TV champion, which actually is a little bit of a surprise, just all things considered. But good on Brian Cage. They finally gave him a singles title, and hopefully he can progress going forward, at least in terms of the Ring of Honor side. But Brian Cage is your new ROH TV champion. So then we had a singles match in the women's division. We had Anna Jay defeating Harley Cameron, which no surprise to anybody. I think everybody knew Anna Jay was winning that match. I don't think anybody saw Harley Cameron winning. And so that match was what it was. It was just, it was a match that was tailor-made for the pre-show. Nothing special happened there. It was fine for what it was. And Anna Jay, she made a statement on Rampage the previous night about how her, quote, her ass, because she made reference to how Harley Cameron said she wanted to kick her ass. Well, her ass kicks back. Well, I think Anna Jay's ass did perform pretty well in this match. And it looked pretty good in this match. I just thought I'd point that out too. But anyway, so Anna Jay gets the win there. So it was an okay match, I guess, decent enough. So then we had the Acclaim in a tag match versus, of course, MXM Collection. And MXM Collection actually came out and they debuted their third man, which they promised the previous night on Rampage, and their third man ended up being Rico. Yes, that Rico from years ago, from back in WWE, who obviously has a history of Billy Gunn, daddy ass, if you will, back when he was a part of that tag team, Billy and Chuck, and he had Billy, Chuck, and Rico. All that was way back in fucking 2002, but yeah, so a long time ago. But I did not expect to see Rico on this fucking pre-show or on this 0 hour. I did not expect to see Rico in AEW, but anyway, MXM brought him out, and then we had our tag match, the Acclaim versus MXM Collection. It was a decent tag match here, again tailor-made for the pre-show. I thought it was a good match. I know it was a solid match, solid outing. And despite the efforts of Rico and despite the efforts of MXM Collection, the Acclaim got the victory in the end. And of course, they did their scissor, celebration, all that kind of stuff. So decent match there. And then we had an impromptu fourth match, or a match added to the pre-show. That being a 8-man tag match where you had the Outrunners teaming up with Orange Cassidy and Kyle O'Reilly to take on the team of It was the Dark Orders, Alex Reynolds, John Silver, and then it was the Premier Athletes, Tony Nese and Arya Daivari. So 8-man tag match. That, of course, was won by the Outrunners and the conglomeration, if you will, Orange Cassidy and Kyle O'Reilly. So decent tag match there. So that was what it was. A decent little 10, 11-minute match. And, of course, obviously the babyfaces went over here. The Outrunners got the pin for their team. So, but anyway, that's pretty much it for those were the 4 pre-show matches. So then moving on to the main card, the main portion of the pay-per-view. We kicked off with Jay White 1-on-1 versus Hangman Adam Page. Jay White in his first pay-per-view match since before, he got injured. A very solid match, as I predicted it would be. Great outing here. 2 guys who have history dating back to their Ring of Honor days when they were both young up-and-coming guys. Of course, if you remember way back when, 2015, 2016, these guys were when these guys were just starting out wrestling, they actually got their start in Ring of Honor. And then they moved on to, make a name for themselves in New Japan, Bullet Club, all that kind of stuff. So they got, they got the history. And now, obviously, they're both here in AEW. So, of course, they got that history. And they're both, obviously, very solid wrestlers. So, great match, good outing, back and forth for the most part. Jay White ended up picking up the victory when Hangman teased going for the buckshot lariat, but he was selling his knee. Jay White targeted the knee throughout the match. Then, obviously, paid dividends into the finish when Hangman went for the buckshot lariat. He kind of sold his knee a little bit, and then he finally went for the move. Jay White countered, hit the Blade Runner, got the pin. So Jay White gets a measure of revenge against Hangman Page, gets the pin, and Jay White in his first match back, official first match back, on pay-per-view, gets a victory, a solid victory over Hangman and Page. So good stuff there. Can't wait to see what Jay White does next. I hope at some point he's in the main title picture. He's too good to not be a champion. Jay White is too good to be on that roster and not be in the world title picture. I hope it happens at some point, sooner rather than later. Same thing with Hangman Page. I think both these guys should be in that world title picture sooner rather than later. But anyway, that's how that's the first match on the show. Jay White defeats Hangman Page. Great outing there. So next up, we get our AEW Women's World Title match, Mariah May versus Willow Nightingale. Decent match here, nothing too spectacular about it. It went about as you would expect. Willow worked over Mariah May worked over Willow, so it was a little back and forth there. Mariah May gets the victory after a couple near falls. Mariah May hits a couple moves in succession, followed up by the Storm Zero, then gets the pin on Willow for the 1-2-3 in the win. So Mariah May retains, no surprise there. And it's funny that Mariah May, to this point, is still using Toni Storm's finisher, the Storm Zero. I guess that's sort of an homage to her former mentor, and maybe also rubbing in the face of Toni Storm, since Toni Storm's not around, at least not right now. But anyway, so Mariah May wins. She retains the AEW Women's title. No real surprise there. And it was a decent enough match. Nothing, like I said, nothing really special or spectacular about it. It was a decent match in the women's division. And Mariah May, of course, retains. She's still the women's champion. So then, we got our TNT Championship match. Jack Perry defends against Katsuyori Shibata. Decent match here. Very, physical. Both guys exchanging blows. It was more so Katsuyori Shibata absorbing the blows of, Jack Perry and kind of, dishing blows back at him. And Jack Perry had to overcome, the obvious difference in pain threshold. So, it was again, another decent match. It was fine for what it was. So eventually the match ends kind of in a weird way. Jack Perry went on the offense. Katsuyori Shibata countered, got him in a sleeper hold, managed to bridge back on it. He got him in the sleeper, and Jack Perry kind of fell backwards. And at the time, Katsuyori Shibata still had the sleeper, and he had a grapevine, but his shoulders were on the mat, and the referee counts 1, 2, 3. And just like that, Jack Perry gets the victory, even though he was in the sleeper hold. He was, Katsuyori Shibata had the offense on him, but he got pinned. I guess he didn't realize that his shoulders were getting pinned, and he got pinned, and so Jack Perry is named the winner of that match via pinfall out of the sleeper. So that's how that match ends. Afterwards, obviously, Katsuyori Shibata are, obviously in disbelief. Then Jack Perry attacks Shibata after the match, and really the story of this match, or the intrigue here, is what happened afterwards. As Jack Perry attacks Katsuyori Shibata after the match, all of a sudden, Daniel Garcia runs out. Daniel Garcia rushes out, gets up in the face of Jack Perry, and obviously, again, Daniel Garcia just recently returned, stated he was either staying in AEW, and he gets in the face of Jack Perry. So I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be the next challenger for the TNT title, that being, Daniel Garcia. Jack Perry backs off. Then all of a sudden, MJF makes a surprise return. So MJF is now back in AEW. He makes his way down to the ring. He gets in the ring, and obviously there's history, of course, with Daniel Garcia and MJF. The last match MJF wrestled was against Daniel Garcia, where he got a victory, and then he took like a month off or something. I heard that he was like doing a movie or something, and he actually made mention of that in a promo. But then, as it looked like it was about to be MJF and Daniel Garcia fighting, Jack Perry blindside attacks Daniel Garcia, and Daniel Garcia gets beat down, and then MJF, stands on top of him, cuts a promo on him, starts beating on him. Then he goes to use the Dynamite Diamond Ring on him, and then all of a sudden we get another turn in the form of Adam Cole, baby! Adam Cole comes out. Haven't seen Adam Cole in God knows how long. Huge ovation, standing ovation in the crowd. Adam Cole runs out, chases away MJF. MJF retreats. And of course, as you all know, there's obvious history between MJF and Adam Cole from last year, from that whole, tag team and then the dissolving of the tag team after Adam Cole turned on MJF, the whole Devil Mask fiasco and, So there's obvious history here. But it seems like now the tables have kind of flipped because Adam Cole seems like the babyface now and MJF is the heel. But, because before it was Adam Cole, of course, was the heel. He was part of the Undisputed Kingdom, and MJF was the face. And now the roles have been reversed. So MJF retreats. Adam Cole stands in the ring, goes to help Daniel Garcia, pulls him up. And so that's pretty much it for that. So we got the return of MJF and the return of Adam Cole, baby. And I hope to God Adam Cole is okay. Thank God that he's back in AEW. Thank God. Hopefully he is in wrestling shape. And we hope to see. I hope to see him back in the action very soon. So yeah, man, hell of a development there. But anyway, so that was nice to see, man. That was great to see. But anyway, so then afterwards we get our next match. Another championship match here, fourth match on the show, and this, honestly, was probably the match of the night. I'm sure a lot of people say this was the match of the night, and I think a lot of people are arguing this could very well be a candidate for match of the year, that being the three-way AEW International title match. Champion Will Ospreay defends against Ricochet and Konosuke Takeshita. Excellent match, excellent classic outing. All three guys fucking put on a clinic here. All sorts of crazy spots, three-person spots. At first it was Ospreay and Ricochet going at Takeshita, and then Takeshita, fought back against both of them, and you had a lot of, again, two-person spots, three-person spots out of the corner. You had Ricochet and Ospreay putting on the clinic with all the athletic, the dive moves and the hurricanranas and all kinds of shit that they were doing that, in terms of the exchanges, dives off the top rope, somerset, flips, to the outside and all kinds of shit, man. There's a table spot near the end. Takeshita hit a tombstone on Ricochet off the apron through the table on the outside. It was fucking crazy, dude. There's just crazy stuff that happened in this match. So after Ricochet got taken out, it came down to Takeshita and Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay looked like he was going to win after hitting two consecutive hidden blades. He goes for the cover. Don Callis pulls the referee out of the ring, and he takes the referee out. And then, so then Don Callis gets in the ring. Looks like he's gonna hit freaking Ospreay with the fucking screwdriver. Ospreay catches his hand, pulls him down, is about to take him out with the fucking Tiger Driver. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a masked individual hits fucking Will Ospreay from behind with the fucking screwdriver, and it turns out to be none other than Will Ospreay's own boy himself, Kyle Fletcher. So Kyle Fletcher is now fully under the influence of the Don Callis family. He turns on Will Ospreay, cracks Will Ospreay, and as a result, Takeshita hits Ospreay as he is basically bewildered by the betrayal of Kyle Fletcher. Takeshita takes advantage, hits him with a knee, hits him with a move, goes for the pin, gets the 1, 2, 3 in the win, and just like that, Konosuke Takeshita wins the match, pins Will Ospreay, and he is the new AEW International Champion. I cannot fucking believe it. I did not expect them to put the title on Konosuke Takeshita here. That was a big shocker in this match. A hell of a shocker to me, personally. And then after the match, Kyle Fletcher continues the attack. He pulls Will Ospreay up, lifts him up, hits him with the Tiger Driver, the same Tiger Driver that Will Ospreay refused to hit on anybody. And Will Ospreay is laid out in the ring, and Takeshita, Don Callis, and Kyle Fletcher stand over his prone body, and they all leave together with Takeshita with the AEW International Championship in tow. So excellent outing, classic outing, great match. hell of a finish. Again, shocking finish. I did not expect that finish. I did not expect for Kyle Fletcher to turn on Will Ospreay the way he did, and B, for Takeshita to be the new AEW International Champion. So that was a hell of a shock to me. But excellent match. Easily, quality-wise, the best match on the show. You could argue. The main event was pretty good too. But quality-wise, I think this match takes the cake as the best match on the show. And a lot of people are already saying it's one of the best three-way matches all year. A lot of people are saying it's match of the year. And I tend to agree. So good stuff. Takeshi's your new champion. Some people might be, on the fence about that. I personally think, a lot of people are calling for Takeshita to finally get a push or finally get some form of a championship. And I think, now's as good a time as any. And I didn't think they were going to pull the trigger here. But again, I think, again, some people were calling for it. Some people were, wanting to see Takeshita hit that next level, get a championship, get a push. And I think this is the start of that. So I can't complain too much with Takeshita being international champion, like some people might. I can't complain about that. But great stuff, great match. So then afterwards, we get the return of Swerve Strickland, making his official return for the first time since his unsanctioned steel cage match at All Out, where he took the loss to Hangman Page. So good to see Swerve back. He cuts a promo, basically talking about, his condition and his health and so on and so forth. And you had Prince Nana there, of course, introduce him. So then as he's basically about to talk about his future, whatever have you, he is interrupted by MVP and Shelton Benjamin. So they come out, they get in the ring. MVP makes his case. He pitches to Swerve Strickland that he can, they have, a history, obviously, outside of course, AEW. And he says that he is the sort of person who can who takes individuals to the next level and allows them to, reclaim the championships that they should hold and so on and so forth. So he makes this big picture Swerve. And then Swerve, at one point, it seemed like he was going to, go for MVP's pitch. And he was kind of looking at Prince Nana, and then he says, basically, Prince Nana is family, and he's not going to turn on family. And he basically tells MVP he can take those business cards and stick them up his ass because he's not going anywhere. He's not turning on Prince Nana. So then Shelton Benjamin gets up in Swerve's face, basically says, well, we're not asking you, we're telling you. There's no you without us, and if you're not with us, you're against us. So then it looks like Swerve and Shelton Benjamin are about to get into it. Then a bunch of referees and guys from the back, security, come in and break it up, and then MVP and Shelton Benjamin are sent to the back, and that's pretty much it for the segment. So it's I think we all kind of saw this coming. I think we all knew that Swerve wasn't going to turn on Prince Nana, and at some point we're going to see this new developing faction with MVP and Shelton Benjamin, and likely at some point we're going to see Bobby Lashley. I'm surprised he didn't debut here. Maybe he debuts at some point in the near future. Hopefully this week's Dynamite. If not, maybe next week or whenever they decide to pull the trigger. But at some point, Lashley will be in AEW. It's already pretty much all but confirmed. But and he will be a part of MVP's faction with Shelton Benjamin, and so we're going to see MVP's group versus Swerve Strickland and Prince Nana. So I can only we can only wait and see when they decide to pull the trigger on that. Anyway, so next up we get a 2 out of 3 falls match, Hologram versus Beast Mortos. Now, admittedly, going into this, I did not know the purpose of this match. I thought, why would they, if they're going to have this match be on the pay-per-view, why not just have it be a singles match? Why does it have to be 2 out of 3 falls? And then during the match, the commentators basically explained that in Mexico, with AAA and CMLL, 2 out of 3 falls matches are the standard, and it's okay, I guess you could go with that, but still, there was no title on the line or no stipulation or no kind of nothing really on the line. It wasn't a number one contenders match, no title was on the line or nothing, so it was just a 2 out of 3 falls match just for the heck of it. I was kind of confused about that. Of course, it ended up being a decent match. It ended up being a solid match. These two guys, I think, put on a show there. Hologram picked up the first fall with a really nice move, coming out of a whatever the hell he did, and a crucifix, almost like a variation of crucifix bomb. He got the pin on Beast Mortos. Beast Mortos came out of it, going into fall 2. Beast Mortos worked over Hologram, and then eventually, after a series of backbreakers and a clothesline, he finally got a pin on Hologram. So for the first time since being in AEW, Hologram gets pinned here on fall 2, so now it's one, so it becomes 1-1, and then we go to a fall 3. Both guys go back and forth for another 5-10 minutes. Hologram finally puts Beast Mortos away with a nice looking power move, and then another combination of moves, and he gets the pin on Beast Mortos for the 3 count and the win. So Hologram takes the third fall. He wins the fall. He wins the match, 2 falls to 1, and Hologram remains undefeated at this point in AEW. So, like I said, decent match there. Not sure. I mean, this could have been just like a regular match or a standard match. I mean, I understand them wanting to, maybe have a 2 or 3 fallers just to give Beast Mortos at least a fall in this match. But it's all the same. It's like a 2 out of 3 falls match, I guess, for the heck of it, is kind of like, and there's nothing really at stake. It's like, it's just kind of like, it's just a bit of a head scratch. I even mentioned this in the predictions video I did. But it ended up being a good match, so I'll take it for what it is. But it was a decent match. But we could have seen this like on Dynamite or Collision. Just throwing it out there. All right, so next up, we get another singles match here. Darby Allin, I believe this was the 6th match on the show, if I'm not mistaken. Darby Allin one-on-ones versus Brody King. Solid match. These two guys, they have, again, the history. It was mentioned on commentary that they wrestled each other 7 times, and Brody King won 6 of the 7, with Darby Allin's only victory being in a coffin match, and Darby Allin has never pinned Brody King previously. So that was the kind of, the commentators basically made mention of that before the match. And so, as you would expect, Brody King worked over Darby Allin for most of it. He had the size and power advantage, obviously. Eventually, Darby Allin got back into it. You saw all the spots on the outside, steel step spots, and both guys just took turns working each other over. Eventually, Darby Allin gets the victory after a miscue by Brody King. He falls to the outside after it looked like he was going to go for like a superplex off the turnbuckle onto the steps to try to put Darby Allin onto those fucking splat Darby Allin on the steps, but he ended up taking a fall back onto the steps. Darby Allin hits a coffin drop onto Brody King on the steps, and Darby Allin gets back in the ring. The ref starts counting. Brody King just barely gets back in the ring before the 10 count. Darby Allin hits the coffin drop on Brody King as he's down on the mat, and then he gets the pin and the 1, 2, 3. And so Darby Allin finally vanquishes Brody King, gets a pinfall victory over Brody King for the first time since the two have faced each other. The first time ever that Darby Allin's pinned Brody King in a match. And so Darby Allin gets the victory here. So solid match there. I thought it was decent. I thought it was a decent outing for what it was. So next up, we get our 7th match on the show on the main card for the AEW Tag Team Championships. The champions, the Young Bucks, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson versus the challengers Private Party, Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn. This is a decent match for what it was. It ended up being pretty good. At one point, the crowd seemingly was really into Private Party. Like, I knew in the beginning, like, there wasn't going to be a whole lot of heat for this match, but as it progressed and as Private Party, like, hung around, the crowd started to get more and more in the Private Party. And I was kind of thinking to myself as the match went on, maybe they're actually going to give Private Party the win here. But sure enough, the Young Bucks came back in it. They hit a sequence of moves. They hit the BT trigger, which Isaiah Cassidy kicked out of. At one point, Cassidy and Quinn hit the gin and juice on, I believe, Nicholas Jackson for a close near fall. And then later in the match, it came down to Isaiah Cassidy with both Bucks, and they end up hitting the what is it called? The TK driver in the middle of the ring, square in the middle of the ring, and they get the 1, 2, 3 in the win. So, as I expected, as I think a lot of people predicted, the Young Bucks defeat Private Party here, and the Young Bucks remain AEW World Tag Team Champions, and they continue to monopolize the AEW Tag Team division with those titles. And so, valiant effort by Private Party. I was really kind of, in the back of my mind, like, I was just kind of hoping that maybe they would give Private Party a win here, because they mentioned several times during this match on commentary that Private Party has yet to win any sort of championship. They haven't been, since they've been in AEW. They've been in AEW since the beginning, dating back to 2019 when AEW was first formed. They have yet to win an AEW Tag Team Championship. They have yet to win any championships. So it was just, this is a real long time coming for Private Party, and I was hoping that they would actually have them win here, and for the first time in their careers actually, secure a win in a championship match. But, it wasn't to be, I guess. Maybe, I don't know, will it be down the line? I mean, I certainly hope so, but nonetheless, the Young Bucks get the victory here. They retain the titles, and Private Party was visibly upset after the match. Specifically, Isaiah Cassidy was in the ring. He was, holding his, hand. He was holding his face in his hands and whatever. And so that's pretty much it for that. So it ended up being a good match, good tag match here. I just wish that we had a I just wish that Private Party would have won. It would have made for a much more, feel good moment here on this pay per view with, not an upcoming team, but a long time, like a team that has been around since the beginning and hadn't really won anything. It would have been such a feel good moment for Private Party to finally got that moment and won the AEW tag titles here. But it ended up not happening. It didn't happen. So it is what it is on that. It was a fine match. It was a fine match nonetheless. Again, I just wish Private Party would have won. But that's just me. So then we have our second to last match on the show for the Ring of Honor World Championship. The champion, Mark Briscoe, defended against Chris Jericho. Pretty physical match here. You saw the match for the most part spill out on the outside. The guys fought on the outside for a bit. At points during the match, you saw, of course, the other members of the Learning Tree, Big Bill and Brian Keefe, intervene on behalf of Jericho, which I expected. And then, of course, you had the other members of the conglomeration come out and fight them off. You had Orange Cassidy fight off Big Bill. Then later Brian Keefe got involved, and you had Rocky Romero come out and chase him off. Then eventually Jericho, at one point in the match, late, it looked like he was going to win. He hits the Judas effect. Then he pulls him up, hits the J Driller, and I'm thinking, oh my God, you're seriously going to have Jericho win after hitting Mark Briscoe with a J Driller? And then Mark Briscoe just kicks out at a late 2, and I'm like, thank God. So Jericho goes on the offense. Mark Briscoe gets back into it. He hits a sequence of moves. He hits the Froggy Bow. Then he pulls him up, points up the heavens, dedicating, obviously doing it for his brother. Of course, his brother up there in heaven, of course, Jay Briscoe. Hits the J Drill in the middle of the ring, square in the ring, gets the pin for the 1, 2, 3 in the win. And Mark Briscoe defeats Chris Jericho, defeats Learning Tree, and he remains the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Champion. And good on him. Good on Mark Briscoe for winning this match, dedicating it to his late brother. And so it was a feel-good moment. A little bit of a feel-good moment, especially at the end. So Mark Briscoe wins. Decent match. Again, another decent match for what it was. So then we get to our main event match of the night, final match on the show, which obviously this was going to be the main event. Champion Bryan Danielson back, and of course, they were in Tacoma, Washington, not too far from his hometown, Aberdeen, Washington. Bryan Danielson, world champion, defends against former, partner, former member of the BCC, Blackpool Combat Club, that being Jon Moxley. So, very physical match here, as you would expect. Jon Moxley actually attacked Bryan Danielson before the match even started, as Bryan Danielson's music was playing, Final Countdown, and they were fighting as the music was playing. It kind of reminded me of, Anarchy in the Arena, where they have, the match begin and the music will still be playing in the background. But anyway, so after like a couple minutes of them fighting on the outside, finally the match gets in the ring and the bell rings and the match begins. So as you would expect, very physical match. The story of the match was Bryan Danielson was getting worked over for the most part. Moxley focused the attack on his neck, on his neck and his upper back, area, and his, specifically his neck. At one point, he hit a nasty pile driver on top of the announce table. T's going for a pile driver on the outside on the exposed concrete. Danielson, had a counter for pretty much everything, but he still got worked over by Moxley for the most part. He sold a lot, but Danielson sold a lot in this match. And then there were parts where you saw Marina Shafir get involved, attacking Danielson behind the referee's back. So pretty much knew what the story of this match was going to be. But it ended up being a struggle. Danielson at one point hit multiple, Busaiku knees for very close near falls. Moxley late in the match hits a Death Rider middle of the ring, goes for the pin. Danielson kicks out at 1, starts firing up. And again, it was a back and forth struggle. At one point, Danielson actually took a Death Rider on the outside of the exposed concrete. And I was like, oh shit, Jesus Christ, man. But yeah, so they were selling the obviously the tension of course, this being possibly Danielson's final match, because he did basically say that if he lost the title, he would retire. So obviously that whole thing was going, that was part of the intrigue going into this match. But like I said, physical match, back and forth. Eventually, Marina Shafir does get ejected by the referee, and it becomes a true one-on-one match. So eventually, Moxley takes advantage, and there's a little bit right before the finish of the match, Moxley stands over Danielson, basically yells, "Dad, don't make me do this, Brian. Don't make me do this." And Danielson spits on him. Then Moxley pulls him up, hits him with a modified pile driver, a Gotch-style pile driver. Then he pulls him down into the sleeper, and Danielson keeps, he eventually got to his feet, tried to fight out of it. I thought he was going to reverse it and try to, go for another sequence of moves or whatever. Maybe hit the Busaiku knee again. But Moxley kept the sleeper on him, and he was in a standing position. Then slowly he kind of fell down. He fell backwards. Moxley got him all the way down on the mat in the sleeper, and then about 5-10 seconds later, Danielson started to fade, and then the referee eventually called for the bell. And so just like that, the match ends on a referee stoppage. So Jon Moxley, much to my surprise, Jon Moxley gets the victory in the match via referee stoppage, and thus Jon Moxley becomes the new AEW World Heavyweight Champion for the 4th time. A record-setting 4th AEW World Title reign for Jon Moxley. And Jon Moxley is my favorite AEW guy, is my favorite AEW wrestler, my favorite wrestler in AEW currently, I'm trying to say. And him being a 4-time champion is an incredible feat. Ordinarily, I would be all for Moxley being champion, but on this night, I just kind of wanted to see. I kind of wanted more to see Danielson, pull it out, but it was not meant to be. Danielson succumbs to the sleeper here, and Moxley gets the victory, and Moxley is the new champion. So obviously, right after the bell was rung, everybody, you heard the collective gasp in the crowd because everybody knew what it meant, from Danielson losing. Not just did he lose the championship, but now he's going to be forced to retire. So anyway, afterwards, Moxley is awarded the championship. Then we get the Blackpool Combat Club. We get Claudio Castagnoli, Pac, and then Marina Shafir coming back in. They all get in the ring. Moxley, takes the title. Takes his new world title. They put it in a bag, almost like a backpack or something, and they stuff it in his bag. And then they take out a fucking plastic bag, and it looks like they're going to do the same thing to Danielson that they did, last month when they first turned on him and put the bag over his head and shit. Then all of a sudden, Wheeler Yuta rushes out. And I'm thinking, okay, Wheeler Yuta, Darby Allin rushes out because it looked like Moxley and his crew were going to attack Danielson post-match. So Yuta and Darby Allin go to rush out and chase away Moxley and his crew in support of Bryan Danielson. Then all of a sudden, Wheeler Yuta turns and he blindside attacks fucking Darby Allin, and he starts beating on Darby Allin. So Wheeler Yuta is apparently now fully ingrained in this new Blackpool Combat Club. So they beat down Darby Allin. Moxley and Claudio and Pac all get in the ring. They all attack Darby Allin. Then they go after Danielson again. They attack Danielson. Moxley hands Wheeler Yuta that plastic bag. He grabs it, puts it over fucking Danielson's head, and he fucking smothers and he chokes him out, just like fucking Moxley did to him back at All Out. And he's fucking clearly he did not want to do it. He was hesitant, but he ended up doing it. He put the bag over his head and fucking pulled him down and smothered him with this fucking bag over his head. He basically was yelling at him stay down, stay down. And you saw a bunch of wrestlers, a bunch of talents come out to try to come to the aid of Bryan Danielson. You saw Private Party come out there, Jeff Jarrett came out there. They all got dispatched. And then that was when Wheeler Yuta put the bag over his head. And then you saw a whole bunch of other AEW talents from the back run out, and they chase away Moxley and the BCC. And Moxley, Yuta, Claudio, Pac, and Marina Shafir all run through the crowd. They rush back, through the crowd area. Meanwhile, Danielson gets tended to, and Danielson at this point was he was motionless in the ring. And then finally you have a bunch of trainers come in and check on Danielson, and he gets stretchered out. And you hear, on commentary, they were making mention of, Danielson's condition, so on and so forth. And so Danielson ends up getting put on a stretcher, and he's taken out of the ring, and that's how the show closes out. So yeah, crazy finish. I stated this on Twitter also. Crazy way to finish that pay-per-view. Crazy. It was a hell of a finish to this pay-per-view. The match itself was solid. Match itself was great. One of the better matches here on this pay-per-view. To me, top 3. If I had to in terms of quality, this is definitely this is definitely up there. To me, it's top 3, top 2 in terms of the best matches on the show. The finish, I did not expect Moxley to pull it out here without some big surprise appearance or interference or whatever. But yeah, so Danielson, he lost. He takes the loss here. Moxley's the new champion. By virtue of that, obviously now Bryan Danielson, by his own words, he has to retire now that he's lost the title. And of course he saw the post-match attack, and then he just stretched it out. So yeah, crazy finish, crazy way to end the show. And personally, still got a lot of questions in regards to this whole thing with Moxley and his new BCC. what is the deal with them? You know, why are they going around doing what they're doing? Why did they do what they did to Bryan Danielson after the match? You know, Moxley already won. He already took the title, so why did he need to attack him further? And like, what is the deal with, you know, this new version of the Blackpool Combat Club? Like what's their deal? Like, what is their motivation? Like, what is their goal? You know, what are they hoping to accomplish by doing what they're doing? I hope we get some kind of answer, possibly later on. Hopefully this week on Dynamite we get some more answers in regards to that. But yeah, so there's still a lot of intrigue with this story, with this, you know, there's a lot of intrigue with this ongoing story with Moxley, especially now that Moxley's the champion. So we'll have to wait and see. I heard a lot of people basically tease that, you know, Shane McMahon is behind, you know, this new kind of group of Moxleys and so on. So we didn't see Shane McMahon here tonight, but I don't know if, you know, we will down the line, or if it's going to be somebody else that we have no clue about. I guess we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see what the whole deal is with, you know, Moxley and his crew. So hopefully we'll find that out, you know, in the near future. But anyway, that was pretty much it for that. So that was the entire show. So for me personally, I thought, like I said before, quality show, not as good as previous pay-per-views this year, but it was a quality show, 2 thumbs up show. If I had to give it a grade, I'd give this one an 8.5 out of 10. For the most part, there were matches that were decent, you know, like I said, kind of middle of the road for me, like not bad, but not necessarily, oh my god, this is fucking pay-per-view quality, top-notch pay-per-view quality. It was just kind of like, it was okay for what it was. Like, you know, the women's title match, the TNT title match, you know, Jericho, Briscoe, 2 out of 3 falls match. Those were decent matches where, you know, it was okay. Again, not bad matches, but they were just okay. But for me, the strength of the pay-per-view was the opening match with Jay White and Hangman Page, that international, you know, title 3-way match where Takeshita, you know, took the title. That obviously match of the night, you know, candidate for match of the year. Easily one of the best matches we've seen on pay-per-view in quite some time. And then, of course, the main event and everything that happened after the main event. That the strength, based on the strength of that, is where the grade for this pay-per-view comes from. So I'll give it, all in all, as a whole, I will give this AEW, this year's edition of AEW Wrestledream for 2024, I give it an 8.5 out of 10. Quality show, good pay-per-view. AEW delivers once again. Not the best, you know, not the best quality-wise, but I still think it's a very good show. Quite a good show. So that's what I give it. That's what I would rate it if I had to. But anyway, that's pretty much going to do it for that. So that was AEW Wrestledream 2024 in a nutshell. So yeah, good stuff. And we shall see what happens on Dynamite this week. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what the fallout is with Adam Cole and MJF being back. Looking forward to seeing what the whole deal is with MVP and, you know, his and Shelton Benjamin, and hopefully at some point we'll see Lashley possibly make an appearance. What the deal is now that Moxley's champion. Are we going to hear any follow up from him? What's the follow up going to be there? I'm very much looking forward to seeing what happens on Dynamite this week. So can't wait for Wednesday. But anyway, that's going to be it for that. So that is going to conclude my AEW Wrestledream 2024 recap / review. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, give me your thoughts on the pay-per-view. What did you think of the show? What was your favorite match? What do you think were the top matches on the show? Where would you grade this show? All in all, go ahead and give me your thoughts in the comments. And be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Appreciate all the support you can get, as always. And that's pretty much going to do it for that. So thanks for watching again, guys. So I'm going to close it out here. So I will see you guys in the next video. Till then, I'm out for now. Rest of Otaku, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.